What's going on, guys? How you doing today? It's Single Roleplay, and once again today I want to show you my projected build for the starter of the Bestiary League. It will be the Spectral Shield Throw DeadEye. I'm not entirely settled up on DeadEye for now. I'm still undecided. This might be the Slayer will be better, or even the Duelist, but for now DeadEye looks pretty solid for damage. The toughness is okayish. It's not as GG as for the left side of the tree, but we managed somehow to go to the decent 200 life tree here, so that's okay. So this is the build that I originally created and theorycrafted for the Spectral Shield Throw. This is basically the DeadEye ascendancy. We will be taking far shot as well as ricochet for skill changing. Gathering winds is important for being faster, as well as fast and deadly for attack and projectile damage. As for the rest of the tree, it's mostly global physical damage, a lot of live projectile damage, as well as we are getting here in the duelist area to get Defiance, as well as Fury Bolts. Well, mostly damage with shields as well, physical attack damage with shields. Now it was quite of a problem to gather enough life, but eventually I succeeded and found ways to get more life here. And damage looks okay for now, even without the actual skill, and now all I'm waiting now is the actual skill. So we can actually leech some life here as well, so that's all solid. This is level 91 tree, so very achievable, very affordable. Unfortunately only one jewel for now, but it's not that crazy important. We can potentially even grab more global fizz damage here, as well as there, as well as here as well. Everything else is mostly kind of jewels, I guess, apart from that. As for the skills, this is the protected skills, will be chain, physical projectile attack damage. As for the rest, added fire looks very good so far, but for the next, I'm not sure about fork for now, and not sure about faster projectile and faster attacks. I'm not even sure it will be needed, especially if we're getting tailwind and onslaught and all that shit. I'm not sure that it will add like a lot to the build, so maybe something else here. It's really hard to tell. Maybe even iron grip here. Not entirely sure for this, guys. So until we see the actual skill gem here in the part of building, it's really hard to tell. For the auras, is definitely hatred and herald of ash, nothing crazy. And shield charging, where shield charge fortify and faster attacks. For the items, I already did the projected item build here. Global crit multiplier is not needed. This is not a crit build. This is not a crit build. This is just pure accuracy, non-crit build. Even though we have some decent crit, I must say, like almost 20%. So this is basically the stat stick with 80% of fizz damage as extra elemental damage here. So the shield is Lionel's Remorse. I think that will be the absolute best shield for starter, because it gives tremendous amount of life, as well as an additional chance to block, and it might projected physical build, and this is like the pure physical version of the build. We have 43% block chance, which is quite a lot, I must say, and specking into duelist we can get even more. So Lionel's Remorse is like the best. I think it will be quite expensive in the league. The next good options are actually Magna Eclipse's shield. Life goes down a bit, but that's okay. Magna Eclipses is also very strong. The absolute beast will be the Pandemonium, will be some Essence of Dread crafted and Haku crafted shields. Colossal Tower Shield is rolled with the most armor. So a beast something like this will be with 2000.3 plus armor, will be the absolute best for DPS, but it will take time before people will start crafting this shit, guys, because it takes a while, to be honest. And I think that I will run with the Lionel's Remorse for quite a lot of time. For the helmet, this is Obscurante's life and increased projectile attack damage per accuracy. We have about 5,000 accuracy on the build, so there's quite a bit of attack damage here from the Obscurantes. The second good option might be the Abyssus maybe, or if you can withstand all the shit that is thrown into you, maybe Crown of Ice, or also the Starconia's head. But Abyssus is of course OP for damage, but we'll be surviving with this shit. So Obscurantes is like the cheap safe version of the build. For the chest is bit of the beast because we have added fire, so potentially we can get the one red, and the rest might be greens and the blue. So for the gloves, there's several options. Tomb Fist looks very, very strong here, especially if you insert some kind of jewel here, like the searching knife with the maim, or the murderers with intimidation would be very good. So another good options are actually Winds of Change, because the Winds of Change buffs projectile damage, and Spectral Shield Throw is the projectile attack. This is the cheapest best option here. Another good option is some Gripple Gloves with basically attack speed, life, and resist. These are very strong as well. Not so good as Tomb Fist, because Tomb Fist also allows us the jewel here, but it's okay. Scarms are not really needed for this exact version of the build, because this is a non-crit version, and crit does not really add that much, even though we will crit much more, but it can be used. But I believe that will not be that necessary. But again, having Assassin's Mark is very strong option as well. So I will settle up on the Tomb Fist for now, depending on how affordable will they be. The Abyssal Jewel is basically just damage to attacks, fees, and everything else, and life. You don't need bow damage to attacks because they're not using bow, just flat damage to attacks and life, nothing crazy. The boots are classic, free res, move speed, life, and the enchantment for this I think will be either regen or increase attack and cast speed if you've killed recently. This is the best. The amulet is Gloomfang. And there's a reason for that, because with the DeadEye Ascendancy, you'll be getting +1 chain with another chain on the... Where is it? With another chain being on chain here as well, we're getting quite a bit of chains. And the way the Gloomfang works, it's look, projectiles gain up to 20% of non-chaos damages, extra damage per chain. So basically, the more chains we have, the more extra damage of chaos we gain. We need to gain as much chains as possible, and with this we'll have 4 chains on this. But we're also losing life when we hit enemies with the attacks. So we have some kind of extra leash to counteract this as well. This is like pure damage, pure passive damage amulet, which will be the best for the build, I guess. So everything else is not as good. The only problem will be though counteracting some kind of lack of resistance. That's where we'll be staking resistance on our steel rings. Steel rings will be the absolute best for this build. Flat fizz damage to attacks, and then extra fizz from the stat stick and extra fizz from the Gloomfang. So fizz damage is the absolute best on this build. Steel rings with resistance life is what we need. Attack speed will also be very strong. The belt is classic, Stygian Vice, free res. Elemental damage with attack skill is not really needed because this is pure fizz. This is just like the placeholder belt that I have here. The eye, like I said, will be the eye jewel will be just fizz damage and damage to attacks with life. The flask obviously just a serious promise, because we gain extra fizz as extra chaos damage, as well as extra elemental damage as extra chaos. We do not have elemental damage here at all, so we just take an extra fizz and leech chaos damage here. Taste of Hate is the best for this build entirely. Overflowing Challenge is just to show you the dips. This is just for increased damage. And here is basically just for onslaught. That's about it. The jewels are pretty much life, projectile damage, and global fist damage. We don't need crit on any other shit here at all, guys. Now, as for the second version of the build, so this is basically the physical version of the build. Now, for the second version of the build, I have the conversion version of the build, from physical to elemental conversion. And this version of the build has been sent to me by one of my YouTube subscribers. So the skill tree is based on some other skill tree. This is not entirely mine. I just kind of enhanced it a bit and overlooked a bit, and added also all the items necessary for the build as well. So this is basically 90% conversion, just like almost the tree is almost looks like, no, it's frost blades, you know. We go to the Winter Spirit as well as weapon cold damage, which converts 40% of fizz to cold damage. And the next 50% is converted through the fizz to lightning here. So this is 50% lightning and 40% cold damage, and just 10% of damage stays in the fizz area. The rest is mostly the same, except we go to the Primeval Force for elemental damage with attacks. Everything else is pretty much the same shit. The only difference is mostly the skill gems, which will be for elemental damage now. And so it's elemental damage with attacks, ele focus, as well as basically it. Physical to lightning is mandatory for this build. Now this build does pretty much, I think it might be the close to the same damage, but it's really hard to tell once again, like I said, because we don't really have the actual skill gem for now. For example, Aether's Promise will be better for this build because we gain elemental damage as extra chaos damage, and since we get a lot of elemental damage in this build, both fizz and elemental will get scale. But the only real problem with this skill tree is elemental overload here on top, because, you know, we're losing crit entirely. Crit multiply is no more, but we need to crit every 8 seconds to get this massive amount of elemental damage. And unfortunately the build doesn't have a lot of crit here, and I have a feeling that the crit flask might be used for the build in order to crit more effectively, because, you know, I'm not sure that it is really that important to go to the powerful precision to get more crit, or to rupture to get more crit chance. So critting with this like conversion, especially on the metal overall version of the build, might be a little problem. So maybe some ball lightning shit once again. It's very hard to tell for now. I will be trying, I think, 2 versions of this build, and we'll see just what is better. Another different thing about this build is we will not be using the stat stick here, and we'll be using Avarice Mirage Repair here. This gives us 55% increased elemental damage with attack skills, which basically will buff in crazy our Spectral Shield Throw, as well as gives us an additional chain. Looks, attacks chain an additional time when in main hand. So basically, when Avarice is in main hand, our attacks on the offhand gains an additional chain, and we'll get 5 chains instead of 4 chains, opposite to the complete fizz version. With Avarice we get 5 chains, and that means an extra 20% non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage to our Gloomfang. So potentially this build looks also very interesting, and it's only the time will tell what will be better, just the pure fizz or fizz to elemental conversion. Another cool thing about this build that I decided to use Askarm's Naboo gloves for additional crit chance, because like I said, critting is more important for elemental overload here. So I think that Askarm's will actually fit better with this version of the build. Everything else is pretty much the same, just more duels and more flat damage and more life here. This version has more life, like 1000 more life on top of fizz, so this is potentially safer, but it also has less block chance, because, and a little less accuracy as well, because we're not stacking on the light side of the tree. It's mostly on the left side of the tree that we go, so everything here is pretty much wasted. So it has more life, more safety, and even more potential damage, but it's really hard to tell for now as we don't have the actual skill gem for now. This is it, guys, and I'll let you know how it goes with the build. The patch is almost there and the league is almost there, so we'll see how it goes and I'll let you know the details. Thanks for watching, see you soon.